Hey, what's up? What's up? Joe in Vegas back with another review. Madonna. Does it get bigger than Madonna for my age? Michael Jackson, maybe. 48 years old. Grew up in the 80s. Yeah, probably Michael Jackson was probably the only thing bigger than her. Massive. Female artist, top 1, 2, 3 of all time. In everything. Style, album sales, influence. She was... especially when you go to see a show like this, you really start thinking about it. I don't sit around and think about Madonna. The internet hasn't been kind to her the last few years. Her plastic surgeons, from what I thought, weren't kind to her either. Learned a lesson about that last night. I'll get into that. But I don't sit around and think about Madonna. But as the concert is approaching, as you get to the concert, you really start thinking. You start, putting her on your Alexa and start listening to it again. The catalog that she has is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, the amount of hits that she has for so many years is unbelievable. She has different stages in her career, and we'll get to that because she structured her show around that. It's a journey. She claims she was telling a story of Madonna, where it started, where it ended up. I had similar thoughts when I saw Boy George and Culture Club last year. I should toot my own horn because I love it so. It's my favorite story that he mentioned this channel on stage. So check out my other videos if you want to see Boy George talking about me. I love it. So I got to plug it. Anyway, Boy George, Madonna. I'm trying to think who else. There's definitely a handful of artists back in the 80s that were so ahead of their time when it came to gay rights and LGBTQ, whatever all the letters are these days. They keep adding them, but there was nobody. They were so ahead of their time. It was so. What's the word I'm looking for? It just wasn't the norm. Not in like a hateful way. It just wasn't the norm. And artists like Madonna and Boy George didn't give a fuck. They never gave a fuck, and they put it at the forefront. And everybody just said okay. And I think I don't get too deep, but I think you needed artists like this to put things like that up front and center for everybody to be like, yeah, we don't care. That's cool. Like nobody cared. There's not so much hate in the world, but someone had to break through that barrier based off of our history, and she was doing that. Fashion. I mean, even last night, I couldn't believe how many people were dressed up like that Lucky Star, borderline Madonna era. So many people, all these years later. I just remember as a kid, it was her video, everything. I mean, you check every box. She was so influential and had the music to back it up. And when you do that, and when you're that influential on every level and have great music to back it up, and she has music that's all over the place. There's heartfelt ballads like Crazy for You, and there's La Isla Bonita, which is like a tropical theme, and there's Express Yourself and Vogue, and they're different sounds, and that also makes these catalog artists, these icons, that's what makes them that big, is they have so much music. Same with the Beatles. Beatles were all over the place. So anyway, that's what was going through my head as I was getting psyched up, and I was psyched up to see Madonna. Now, getting back to what the media has done to her lately, I thought I was walking into a train wreck. Let me start. The tickets were really expensive, and I had my doubts on if I wanted to pay that much. With fees and everything, they were almost about $500 for good seats, very good seats. We were dead center. I was section 15, which is the Bud Light Lounge. So we have a little lounge here at T-Mobile. But I said to myself, and I say it all the time, number one, as a fan and as a kid who grew up in the 80s, I had to see Madonna. And as someone who's trying to build the greatest concert review channel of all time, so please subscribe, I have to see everybody. I got to see everybody, no matter the cost. I got to do it. So I was expecting a train wreck. I was expecting her to look like a mess because that's what this fucking media does. They take one bad picture, one bad angle. I was Googling it a little bit this morning because I was curious because I thought she was a fucking mess about her plastic surgeries and stuff. And I just thought she'd be a mess. So all that turned out to be completely. I thought she looked great. I thought she sounded great. I was amazed how much she actually sang herself. I don't see that in some of these artists these days, especially the ones that are dancing. She sang a lot of the songs on her own. She played guitar a lot. And she told stories in between. She was not a mess. She was far from a mess. Dude, I thought she was great. I thought she looked great. I thought she sounded great. I'm going to get into the set list, but I do have complaints. So the things I thought that were going to be actually surprised me. The other stuff was what I was upset about. I was very happy with how she looked, how she sounded, how she danced, how she acted. All that I was shocked, and I was happy that she was normal. It's a good word to put it. She was Madonna. She was Madonna. Now, everybody knows she comes very late. She starts very late. I didn't believe the hype, but it's true. She didn't get the doors opened at 8. She did not come on stage till almost 10:30. So, don't know why she does it. She's an artist. They can do whatever the fuck they want. But my advice to you is don't even get there before 9:30. There's no point. Stay wherever you're at. Don't rush to get there. She's pretty consistent on that. Let me go through. I'm going to just blow through the set list real fast. So this was very theatrical, and it's going to turn into some of my big criticisms of the show. Okay, starts with Nothing Really Matters, then Everybody, then Into the Groove, Burning Up, which she did like a heavy metal guitar version of it, because I guess when she wrote it, it was more of like it was one of her first songs I think she said she wrote an electric guitar. And she played at CBGB's and stuff like that. So I may be wrong, but it seemed to be a more rocked out version of it. It was good. Open Your Heart, which was great, and Holiday. That was the first act. And again, she starts saying she's telling a story. This was Madonna at the beginning. This was Madonna with Broke in New York and that CBGB, that underground music scene. This was her start. And she was very honest about telling a story. And I got to tell you, out of the gate, I was really impressed with how she was talking to the crowd. She had such personality. Her jokes were funny. She reminds you kind of why we all liked her back in the day. It's like you forget this shit because of this fucking media. You know, they paint her out to be a weirdo or a kook or whatever. She doesn't do a lot of interviews, I guess, or I don't see a lot of interviews, but she seemed pretty cool. She was telling a lot of funny stories, and she seemed cool. Anyway, Act 2, the stage was kind of crazy. There was like 3 or 4 different parts to it. There was a lot of lighting. There was a lot of dancers. A lot. There was a lot of theatrics. I don't know if I should talk about that. I'm going to talk about it after. I'm going to run through it. She did Live to Tell, which is a great ballad. And then she did Like a Prayer. And that was the whole of Act 2 because there was so much theatrics in between each song. So many fire, prayer rituals. We'll get into it more. Then Act 3 was Erotica, Justify My Love, Hung Up, and Bad Girl. Act 4 was Vogue, Human Nature, Crazy for You, and Human Nature was shortened, and Crazy for You was shortened. Act 5 was Die Another Day, Don't Tell Me, Mother and Father, Express Yourself, which she did acoustic, which I was really surprised to see. It was good, but it was weird for a song that big to completely tone it down. La Isla Bonita, which I love that song, it was shortened. And then Don't Cry for Me Argentina, which she only sang like 2 lines from. Then Act 6, and I'm purposely leaving out in between each act because I don't know how to describe them. There were these little movies. There was a little movies. Now this one I remember was really like, it was called Madonna. The movies just reminding you who she is and how big she is and this and that. And we don't need to be reminded of that. And I'm going to get back to it. Bedtime Story, Ray of Light, but that was also a remix. That wasn't like the full Ray of Light. Take a Bow. And then Act 7, before this, and this, again, I keep wanting to come back to it because it's the most important part of my review. So when this Act 7 opened up, there was a screen with 2 shadows. It was Madonna and it was Michael Jackson. And all over the loudspeakers, it was playing Billie Jean, and it kept going between Billie Jean and Like a Virgin. And they were having like a dance-off behind the screen, and they were so silhouetted. You knew it was Michael, and you knew it was Madonna. It was pure 80s. There were pictures flashing in the background from when they were dating or hanging out or whatever the fuck that was. But it was such an 80s moment. It was so good. I think it was one of the highlights of the show. It was really artistic, and it was just, I can say what I was there for, but I'm pretty sure that's what the crowd was there for, that era of Madonna. And then she did Bitch on Madonna, and then she did a Celebration to close out the show. So, Okay. My, I get it. She's an artist. She needs to throw all the theatrics in there. And she wanted to do, for this show and this tour, a journey of Madonna from start to finish. She has a long career. There's a lot to do. But I feel for me, and I feel from the crowd, that they wanted, like, she glazed over that 80s period. She didn't sing Like a Virgin, Material Girl, Papa Don't Preach, Lucky Star, Borderline. Those songs that to me was, the meat of her career. Yes, she kept going, and she had songs, way down the road, like Ray of Light and stuff like that were hits, and they were big hits. But they weren't Like a Virgin. They weren't Material Girl. They weren't Papa Don't Preach. Those songs, and there's more. I'm just rattling off the top of my head. I know I'm missing some big ones. Big ones. I feel she brushed over that era. She shouldn't have. And when you have a show that has so much theatrics, there's a lot of dead time. And my opinion is you lose the crowd during that dead time. You just do. It was very sexual. I know that's Madonna. I don't care. I'm a fucking horn dog. I don't give a crap. But it was very sexual, and it was very... And Beyonce did the same thing. I had the same criticism with Donna. Like, there was like a 10-minute... Not a dance-off. It was a long runway thing where her dancers one at a time, and each one seemed to be transgender. A lot of them had their shirts off. It was hard to tell which were men and which were female, which, again, I know that's her MO, and that's fine. I don't have anything wrong with that. It doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is when you have a 10-minute runway show of your dancers in heels, and she's holding up numbers. I would have rather hear Like a Virgin. I want to hear Lucky Star. I want to hear Borderline. Papa Don't Preach. These were great songs. I like some of the theatrics, but you got to get everything in there. I think everybody in that crowd would have rather heard those big 80s hits than seeing 5 minutes of some cult, ritual before Like a Prayer. It was very long. And I'm telling you, I go to a lot of shows and I look at the crowd. It's part of my review. I spend time looking at the crowd. She lost the crowd a lot. When she got into those Live to Tell or Open Your Heart, everybody got up. Everybody was dancing. That's what they were there for. And when she had the intro stuff and the movie stuff in between, everybody sat down. And then she would do La Isla Bonita and everybody would get crazy, but then it was like a shortened version of it, so everybody sat down again. She never captured the crowd. And when you're a catalog artist and you have these many hits and you go to see Billy Joel or someone like that, they're just banging them out. Boom, boom, boom. And they're telling little stories in between very quickly, but they're banging them out. Boom, 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 boom. The crowd doesn't even want to ever sit down. They never have a minute to sit down. To me, that's how it should be when you're seeing a catalog artist. There was too many breaks. There was too many theatrics. I know she was trying to tell a story, but I don't know. For me, I'm there for the music. I don't know how to explain it. There were some parts that were cool. I get it. She was celebrating her career. Which song was it? It was a Bitch on Madonna at the end where she had like all of her dancers were dressed in a different, outfit or era of Madonna. One was, the Material Girl Madonna. One was Vogue Madonna. One was, Papa Don't Preach Madonna with the short hair, And it was cool and it was good. But from a music standpoint, it never captured me. I never felt captured by it. And I like to be captured by an artist. I like when the show starts and next thing you know, the show's over and you haven't sat down in 2 hours. I didn't feel that. There was a lot of dead time for me. So, that being said, I hate to do it. Not hate to do it. It was a good show. But you got to factor in the price and all that stuff. I would give it probably a 7 out of 10. It was good. Wasn't great. Would have loved for it to be great. It could have been great if she laid off the theatrics, but she's Madonna. I don't think she wants to lay off. I don't think she should lay off the theatrics. I don't think she knows how to lay off the theatrics. That's who she is. I get it. The LGBT community, that's who she is. She doesn't give a fuck. She wants to have a 10-minute runway show. She wants to have dancers, topless running around you can't tell which gender they are, That's cool. That's fine. And there was a lot of that in the crowd, and I'm sure they loved it. But I just feel in my heart and soul, to be honest, if she could have put on a show when she just blew through the hits one at a time like these other artists her age do, it would have been great. And you could have put theatrics and you could have put costumes in there. You could have just balanced it better. I don't think the balance was there. That might be the right word. 7 out of 10, I think, is the right score. It was fun. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I would. I think it's important to see these people. I think it's an important thing to pay tribute. Not tribute that she's dead, but just show your respect, show your gratitude for what she's brought us the music scene, because she has. And I don't care what anybody says about her. She's an icon by 1,000 times. I just think it could have been a much better show. That's my take. I appreciate it. I'm sure I'm going to get beat up in the comments, but that's fine. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Subscribe. This is getting really long, and I will see you at the next show. Bye-bye.